Happy 4th of July, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Prairie Lights Podcast, 3 part 2. We'll get to that in a second. My name is Matt. With me is my partner in podcast, Joshua Wexelman.
I'm here. It's episode 3, but it's like episode 6.
Yeah. We have been away for a couple of weeks. Why don't you tell us why that is, Josh? Where have we been?
Well, we did a really fantastic podcast with Tom Knobloch a few weeks ago, and then we were set to podcast last week, and we've had a little problem with the recording device.
Correct.
I guess is that what you would call it?
Yes.
And it did not record some pretty good stuff. So.
Yeah, and that was very disappointing. Basically what happens, for anyone, this is inside baseball, but I use a program called PowerGrammo, which I have basically been using to record Skype calls for the past 10 years. We were using this when the Splattercast started 10 years ago. And for whatever reason, it is a third-party program that has to sort of go into Skype in order to record, but every time there's a Skype update of some sort, sometimes it'll just, fuck it up. And when we record these, you don't really know that it's not recording properly until after the fact. And so we did this awesome interview with Tom Knobloch, the director of Adaptation, and it got lost. It's gone. Yeah. I mean, we have a recording of it, but everything is all garbled and jumbled, and it's just, it's unlistenable.
Yeah.
And so last week we had Chad and Dorothy trying to get this thing to work. It still didn't work, so I had to go through. I went into Skype manually, uninstall, reinstall, downloading updates for it. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm please, I hope this works. And lo and behold, I did a test with Josh this afternoon, and it worked.
Yeah. So I have a new, I got that app on my phone that we were going to try last week. I've been trying to get rid of it, and it won't go away. So that Google Hangout, we were going to try that too.
Yeah. Yeah, we were attempting Google Hangouts. I mean, we've been trying to get this going, and I'm so terrible at technology. When it first happened, I'm I just quit. I give up. However, I soldiered on. I figured out a way, and hopefully, it works. Let's knock on wood here that we don't have any problems in the future. And we have a lot of great filmmakers we're going to have on as guests. No guest today, but we will reschedule with Tom, and we are going to reschedule with Dorothy and Chad and stuff, so they will be back on in subsequent weeks. But before we get into everything here, it's 4th of July. What are your plans, Josh? You doing anything fun on 4th of July?
I'm just the next 2 days hanging out with family and lighting off a bunch of fireworks and going to the pool and just doing the family thing, really.
Yeah. Are you a big fireworks guy?
I used to be when I was, not old. And now I'm just like midnight comes and I'm like the guy screaming at people to stop it. And I just want to go to bed.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Jeff and I went and saw The Purge on Friday night. And after it was over,
I missed that.
Yeah, after it was over, we walked over to that Hertz Donuts, that 24-hour donut shop downtown. Amazing donuts, by the way. So if anyone in Lincoln listening to this, go check out Hertz Donuts. But we were coming back, and we were sort of discussing 4th of July, and he was like, I used to love buying fireworks. And he's like, and now I could care less. And I'm like, I'm sort of the same way. I used to be so into fireworks, and now I'm just kind of like, well, I'll get some for my nephew, and we'll shoot him off and stuff. But, yeah. It's kind of weird that you just get older, and I think it's more like you see your money literally going up in smoke. And it's well, it's kind of not worth it. It was cool when your parents paid for them. It's not, it's not cool when you pay for them.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, yeah, and happy 4th of July to everybody listening. I'm sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
It's all good. And nothing important. Nothing important at all.
Okay. Now tonight on the cast, I almost said the Splattercast. Tonight on the Prairie Lights Podcast, we are gonna. If you are listening to this, I highly recommend you head over to prairielightsfilmfest.com right now because we have officially released the entire schedule and lineup for all 3 days of the Prairie Lights Film Festival. I think we have 38 films. You can go there right now and you can see everything that's playing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Tonight on the show, we're gonna sort of walk through the schedule a little bit, just sort of give our thoughts and opinions on various things. Before we do that, as we always do, house cleaning items. Now, I had a bunch of house cleaning items 2 weeks ago when we were talking to Tom. However, as we've already discussed, that episode's lost to the ether. It'll never be around. So I'm just going to restate a few things here. Number one, we are slowly but surely adding a web presence. I'm very, very slow at the technologies, but I'm trying to get there. So you can visit our website, ParallaxFilmFest.com, and on the front page there on the right-hand side, there's a bunch of buttons. I do have a YouTube page for us now, and I know I'm sort of like changing the way I get content now. Like, I don't really listen to podcasts, but I will go listen/watch a bunch of like YouTube shows and channels now. I'm just sort of slowly moving towards YouTube. So I have been putting the episodes, there's only 2 right now, but I have been putting the podcast episodes up on YouTube. So if you are somebody that likes to get your content that way and just sort of like open a YouTube tab and hit play and listen while you're surfing other stuff, you can get the podcast episodes on YouTube. We also have a Tumblr page. The button's right there on the front page of Prairie Lights Film Fest. It's Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, and YouTube. You can just click there, subscribe to all those. Whichever way you like to get your content and your information, hopefully it's there. I'll try to keep them updated to the best of my ability, but I am a busy person, and I'll do my best. But it is there for you. Super, super exciting. Flatwater Terrors Volume 1 Blu-rays are in. I am looking at the box of them right now. We also have 11 by 17 movie posters that are in for that Alamo screening. Josh, when is this anthology screening?
We're screening July 29th at I'm super stoked about this, the Alamo Drafthouse, which I've never been to, and I hear is a really awesome experience.
It's amazing.
I'm really excited about Alamo Drafthouse. July 29th, it's at 9 o'clock?
Yep.
9 o'clock? 9 to 11, yeah. Just super stoked for it. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, we have 6 films screening: Midnight Kiss, No Exit, Emily, Legend of Pine Acres, A Christmas Horror Story, and what am I forgetting?
One More Time for the Camera.
Yeah, One More Time for the Camera. All 6 of those films are screening. It's about 90 minutes running time for all 6 together, and then the last half hour is going to be a Q&A session with all the filmmakers. Mark Popejoy is going to be moderating that. It's going to be a fun time. I have the Blu-rays. Pick up a Blu-ray at the screening, and all the proceeds are going to be donated to the Nebraska Independent Film Projects and the Eastern Nebraska Film Office, which are 2 local Nebraska film organizations. Those were selected by the filmmakers, so all proceeds are going to go to them. So please head on out. We'd like to get a big crowd out there and have a lot of cash money we can sort of throw at these film organizations. And I did order 11 by 17 posters that were done by Heather Waite, which are awesome looking posters. I absolutely love them. And I'm going to be giving those away for free to any attendees. So if you show up, you're just going to get a free 11 by 17 poster. And I'm sure if you ask Josh real nicely, he'll probably even sign it for you.
Yeah, my signature's really terrible. So
is mine, yeah.
I just signed somebody else's name now.
Filmmaker signatures are like doctors' signatures. Yeah. It's just like you can't really tell who's who. It's just a bunch of scribbles, and then you're like, oh, who is that? Who is that? So
it's awful.
Yeah. But yeah, super excited. That's less than a month away now. So once again, Friday, July 29th at 9 p.m., the Alamo Drafthouse. Technically, it's in La Vista, I think, but that's just a suburb of Omaha. So you can go to PrairieLightsFilmFest.com if you want and find information about that. And I'm sure we'll be talking about that a lot moving forward. So let's get into the meat of this episode. We will have Benito Garcia on next episode, so we're talking about his films Walk a Mile and Skeleton Dance. But today, in celebration of the release of the full schedule, Josh and I thought we'd just sort of go through and spotlight the films, discuss here and there, and sort of give our general thoughts on the upcoming film festival. And Josh can tell me if any egregious mistakes were made by me when setting up this whole schedule thing. So do you have this pop open, Josh, for you to look at?
I do. I'm on my phone, so it kind of goes in and out, but I got it open, yeah.
Okay. Well, then I will just sort of like read through, and then you can just sort of chime in whenever you're ready. Does that sound good? Okay. Yeah. So Friday, October 7th is the opening night of the film festival. At 5 o'clock, we're going to have a pre-festival mixer at Bonsai Pizza. And this is sort of going to be before the doors open and whatnot, where a bunch of the filmmakers who might get to Grand Island early can just sort of go to Bonsai, hang out. You can, eat before the festival, just sort of a general hobnob mixer type thing. And I would also say, for any actors and actresses and stuff that want to come out, this is a great opportunity to hang out with lots of different directors and find out what's happening, what films are going to be auditioning for in the coming months and stuff like that. Josh, this was something that we had instituted last year. I think it was the first year we instituted all these sort of mixer things. What's your take on the mixers?
They're actually one of my favorite parts. Last year we were at the Chocolate Bar, and it's actually one of my favorite parts of the festival because I like seeing all the films and everything, but I love talking to all the filmmakers and actors and everything that show up. So just kind of getting to know you and getting to hang out and everything before the actual films start that's one of my favorite parts of the festival.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So definitely hit up Bonsai at 5 o'clock. Now, at 6 o'clock, the doors are going to open. So anybody who has purchased... Now, I have gotten this question a number of times where people are saying, well, I ordered my weekend pass, but it hasn't arrived yet. When am I going to get it? We don't actually send the weekend passes to the people who order them. You actually pick those up at the box office at any point during the festival. So at 6 o'clock on Friday, October 7th, you can literally show up at the theater. Your name will be on a list, and we will just give you your weekend badge there. So you can show up at 6 to do that. 6:45 is going to be the introduction of the festival with Mark Popejoy, who is this year's Master of Ceremonies. And then one film that I'm super stoked about is a film that's going to open the film festival this year is a film called Bender by John Alexander. This was partially shot at the Stir Museum in Grand Island, Nebraska. It was part of the Grand Island Convention Bureau Center, whatever or government organization in Grand Island helps filmmakers, and I believe John Alexander, he's an East Coast filmmaker, but they came to Nebraska to film a bunch of scenes of this movie. They also shot some of it in Kansas, but the Grand Island Convention Bureau actually reached out to me and let me know about this movie's existence because I had no idea that this movie was even shot here. Had you even heard of this movie before, Josh?
I had no idea. I had never heard of it, but I'm excited for it. I've been reading up on it, so it should be a good way to kick off the festival.
Yeah, and what's really, really interesting about that is I have to say, if anybody out there listening knows of movies and stuff that have been made in Nebraska, I mean, we are involved in a film festival, and we are filmmakers here in Nebraska ourselves, but there are still movies that are made here that we don't even know about. And this is an example of one of those films. So please don't ever hesitate to message Josh and I and hey, I think this is a film you might want to show for a future festival or something like that, because we would love to know that information. The more information we have about films, the more films we can schedule and put in the film festival. So be sure to contact us and let us know of these things. So big ups to the Grand Island Convention Bureau for sending me an email being hey, check this out. Another film that I'm really excited to see is Classified by Kevin McMahon. Now, this is going to be a world premiere / sneak preview. Based on what Kevin has told me, they're planning to turn this into a feature-length film shooting next year. And so this is going to be a 10-minute sort of sneak preview of what this film is going to be all about. If you go to ParalightsFilmFest.com, go to the schedule, you can actually click the link, and he's got 2 minutes of the film that you can actually watch right now, an early cut of it. Did you happen to see that, Josh?
I haven't seen that yet, no, either. So
okay. I would recommend checking that out because it looks incredible. It's just it looks stunning. It's about sort of this Navy SEAL squad who goes into this abandoned power plant, and there's gosh, I don't even know. Well, the video's up there, so it's not really spoiling anything, but there's a supernatural presence in there that's taking out these Navy SEAL teams, and
okay, cool.
It looks super, super sweet. So
I'll check that out. Yeah,
that's going to be a world premiere, and we have, I think, 6 total world premieres on this Friday night, so it's going to be fun. Pillow Fright by Patrick Rea, that's gonna screen here now. Have you seen that, Josh?
I did watch Pillow Fright. Anytime Patrick drops anything, I jump on it because he's one of my favorite filmmakers that's come to the festival. So I like Patrick's stuff a lot.
What did you think of Pillow Fright?
I'm a fan, so I like all his stuff. I think his wife is in it. And I met her at at Crypticon in Kansas City. So I'm a fan of all Patrick's stuff.
Awesome, yeah, and it's super super fun and cool. It's like a horror comedy, which is cool because a lot of people, understandably so, when they hear horror films, they're like, oh my god, is it going to be one more time for the camera type horror, or is it going to be sort of like fun sort of. No, I wouldn't say inoffensive, but yeah, sort of campy, like the fun stuff that anybody can sort of watch and get enjoyment out of and not have to feel like they need to go take a shower afterwards.
Yeah.
And Pillow Fight is definitely that. It's sort of it's a really fun horror comedy. And I would say that we have a lot of horror films screening because right after that, we're going to be world premiering Flatwater Terrors Volume 2. So, like I mentioned, Flatwater Terrors Volume 1 is screening at the Alamo Drafthouse at the end of the month, July 29th, but we're actually world premiering Volume 2 at Prairie Lights on October 7th, and there's going to be 5 short films with this. One of them is The Bagman by Sam Roca, Terpsi's Catch by Jack Forey, The House on Peach Avenue by Pete O'Brien, The Tooth Goblin by Aaron Gum, and then some little film called Love Bites by some guy named Joshua Wexelman and Patrick Lambrecht.
Yeah, I do want to throw Patrick's name in there because he's been doing a ton for this film. So I always want to make sure I put Patrick Lambrecht's name in there as well.
Okay, yeah, and I'm very excited to see all these. The only one that's been turned in so far, because all of them are in various stages of post-production, is The Bagman by Sam Roca, and I really like that. And what I think is really cool is you can sort of see like the progression of a lot of these filmmakers, because a lot of these filmmakers that are doing it also did one from last year, Flatwater Terrors installment last year, and it's really cool to sort of see the different, the growth of filmmakers and how they're changing and stuff like that. And like I mentioned, for anyone who doesn't know, like the Flatwater Terrors anthology and this year the Nebraska Noir anthologies, they're sort of designed to allow local filmmakers around here to not only have some content, but to sort of like help the local film scene like be creative and do things. So we sort of provide a bunch of scripts and stuff and just let the filmmakers go off on their merry way and sort of make these things, and then we sort of like package them all together. And Flatwater Terrors 2, once that's all finished up, and once again we will have a Blu-ray for that, and again we'll do another screening to benefit local film organizations chosen by those filmmakers as well. So it's going to be a real cool time. There's 5 films. I actually helped crew on House on Peach Avenue, which I'm excited to see. I got to hang out with Eric Moyer. Who else was on that? Mark Timian was on that, and I got to jiggle some tentacles. So
yeah,
that was fun. So yeah, definitely show up for all those. And none of these films are like super hard-edged horror stuff at all either. This is all stuff that people could easily watch and have fun with and stuff. Nothing, there's no a Serbian film being made here. It's just all fun stuff. And then we're going to have a Q&A afterwards. Josh, you will be part of that, and with all the other directors, Sam Roca, Jack Forey, Pete O'Brien, and Aaron Gum. Mark will be sort of emceeing and hosting that Q&A session where audiences can ask you guys questions about how you made your movies, what was difficult about making your movie, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So, and then we'll close the night with Endor, directed by Aaron Gum and Andrew McGreevy. And this is a horror film that was made in Nebraska, I think late last year is when it sort of came out. Yeah. So that'll be sort of like to close the night. And then we're going to move straight into Saturday, October 8th. Now, Saturday is always the day that we basically have the most diversity, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a good mix on Saturday.
Yeah, we have a million different things. This is the day you get your sci-fi films, your dramas, your comedies. We've got experimental films, thrillers, suspense. We have an animated film. We're also going to be world premiering the Nebraska Noir films that we're going to be talking about later.
I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, I'm really excited for those as well. That's going to be awesome. But we'll get to that in a second. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to have a breakfast mixer at Sin City Grill, which is like located literally right next to the theater. It's like the block over, where we're going to have a bunch of filmmakers gathering for breakfast and stuff like that. And then we're going to go straight in at 10 o'clock. The Hypnotist by P. Is it Lipins or Lippins?
Do you know Lippins, I believe.
Lippins, P. Lippins. And the synopsis there is like, can you be hypnotized against your will? Michael Morris thinks so. He sets off to make a documentary that proves it to his eternal regret. So this will be sort of like, it's like a sci-fi drama. This will be the first film, a feature-length film to sort of open the festival on Saturday. And then we've got a number of, we've got a couple of really high-quality shorts, Leaving Kansas by David Weiss, The Chauffeur by Mitchell Lyon. And then we're going to, Tom Knobloch and Ben Matukowicz's Adaptation, which, I guess in a month or so you'll hear Tom talk about that movie again. Yeah. It's a real bummer that we lost that, because that was a really good conversation.
It was,
that we
had. It was a lot of fun.
Those are always the ones that screw up as well. I mean, just always those ones that technology fucks us up. But
yeah.
So Adaptation, and then we'll also be showing The Inselberg Effect by Tony Bonacci, Waxing by Lexi Bass, which is really interesting, like experimental feminist film, very different from anything that we've screened at Prairie Lights thus far, and I'm really interested to get people's reactions to it, because it's a really interesting, unique film. At 2:45, we're going to have a short film block that's going to have a bunch of stuff, including 4 world premieres. We'll have Family Values by Val Singhal, In the Dark by James Fichenik, and again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing anybody's name here. The Tide by Tatum Lindbergh, Chores by Jeff Jackson, Food Junkie by Christina Marie Leonard, which you can listen to episode 2 of Prairie Lights Podcast, where we do an interview with Christina. She's awesome, absolutely cool, and that's also going to be a world premiere, she told me today, so that'll also be a world premiere. You're Welcome by Justin Sankbile, which is a world premiere, Melancholy by Nathaniel Edwards, The Offer by Daniel Griskaliak, and Cyberboy by Brandon Fix, which is an animated film by a Nebraska native that looks really, really cool and interesting. We rarely get animated films, so this is something I'm sort of looking forward to. Because I love that, variety is the spice of life. So the more variations we can get on different types of films to screen at the film festival, that's what I dig, and I'm really, really into that. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think we've seen an animated film come through the Prairie Lights Film Festival yet. Really?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of had Midnight Kiss was kind of, yeah.
Aaron's was kind of, but this seems like it'd be something completely different than what Aaron did.
Yeah, because Aaron, Midnight Kiss was it was shot, like regular, like a normal feature, and then he sort of did some post-production work to sort of make it look like an old EC Comics thing. But Cyberboy is actually an animated film, an animated short film, so that's going to be super, super cool. And then at 3:30, we're going to have a Q&A with all of the filmmakers who are there. I know, for example, Tatum Lindbergh, Lilia Fromm, and Sam Lyons, who did The Tide. They're all going to be there. Justin Sankbile is going to be there. Jeff Jackson's going to be there. Daniel's going to be there, I believe. So anybody who's there will participate in that Q&A session, which will be a lot of fun. And then we have our intermission, 4 o'clock festival intermission. One thing that we were, was conveyed to me after, I think it was the first or second Prairie Lights, was like, man, it's great that all these films are screening, but we need some time to go get lunch or something, because we don't want to miss anybody's films. So, each year now we sort of schedule in an hour and a half, 2 hours there right in the middle, so people can leave, go get their food, come back to sort of watch the final films. Before we talk about the rest on Saturday, is there anything that I mentioned thus far that stands out to you that you're particularly interested in, Josh?
I mean, I'm just we haven't gotten to it yet, but what I'm looking forward to the most right now is the Noir Anthology on Saturday. Yeah. But I mean, Leaving Kansas I've been following for a while. I loved Adaptation. I'm excited to see that again. And I've seen it already, and it was a super ambitious film, but I think it's cool that Endor's closing Friday night.
But yeah, Endor, of course, Benito and Megan and Elaine, we have a bunch of friends that worked on Endor and stuff, so really proud to be able to show their stuff, and Aaron's super rad, so I can't wait for people to see that film as well, so that'll be really, really cool. So then after the festival intermission, we have a trio of films here that's sort of explain why they sort of are all grouped together. Community Watch by A.J. Ottman. A.J. Ottman is one of the special guest filmmakers that's going to be participating in Prairie Lights this year. So he will be doing a Q&A session, for example. We're also showing The Wolf's Robe, which actually has its world premiere in Lincoln next month. I think it's August 11th, if I'm not mistaken. It's at the Ross Theater.
Yeah, the Ross, yeah.
It's at the Ross here in Lincoln. It's a very cool movie. A bunch of our friends worked on that movie, and it's not a film like you've really ever see made around here in Nebraska. It's really, really cool. So I definitely encourage people to check that out if you're in the Lincoln area. Head out to their, I think they're almost sold out as well. So get on that if you need to get your ticket.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think the last I saw was I think they might have like 40 spots left after like 2 days. It's already like most of the theaters already sold out. So it'll probably sell out. And then Jesse's Chili. So we'll show Community Watch, Jesse's Chili, and The Wolf's Robe all together, and then a Q&A with A.J. Ottman and Tom Lombard will occur right after that. And the reason these are all together is because Community Watch, Tom Lombard stars in Community Watch. He's one of the actors in that. But then Jesse's Chili is a world premiere film, and he actually created this. This is the first film he's ever done. He came to Prairie Lights last year, and I hope that we can actually get him on the show in the next month or two to sort of talk about the creation of this, because it's really fascinating to me. He came to Prairie Lights last year. It was the first time he'd ever been to Prairie Lights, and he was so sort of impressed and excited and, sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? He was just, he was so happy about what he saw there that it made him want to go out and make his own movie. And so he made this film called Jesse's Chili, but this Jesse's Chili, it's going to be like a Twilight Zone sort of thing. It's like a throwback. It's going to have like commercial breaks and all that stuff. But those commercial breaks all relate back to Community Watch and The Wolf's Robe. So you get to see how Jesse's Chili sort of bridges the gap between Community Watch and The Wolf's Robe, and it all sort of fits together. So that's going to be really super cool. I can't wait to hear what he says in the Q&A about the creation of his movie and whatnot. And I know The House on Peach Avenue was shot out at his house, and I got to meet him, and he's a super, super awesome guy, and I'm really excited to see Jesse's Chili for sure.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead.
No, keep going.
Gotta drink the water.
I think AJ's story is kind of the same, because AJ came out to the Prairie Lights Film Festival last year. I think that was his first year coming out to that as well. And I think he had already had Wolf's Robe shot. He was in post at that point, but I think AJ's first time for Prairie Lights was last year as well.
Yeah, and I love AJ because he's just so damn nice. He's like such a freaking nice guy. It's like you don't meet people that nice in real life, and then you like meet AJ, and it's just like, oh man, like faith restored in the human race.
Yeah.
But
he's a good guy.
Yeah, for sure. And then moving on after the Q&A with AJ and Tom, we're going to world premiere Benito Garcia's Walk a Mile. It's about a shoe repairman who meets a guy with a mysterious pair of boots. So I'm super excited about that. And then we get into what you're really excited for, and which I think is going to be incredible, the Nebraska Noir Volume 1 anthology project. Now, a little bit of backstory of this. We did Flatwater Terrors last year. We wanted to keep that going this year, so that's why we have Flatwater Terrors Volume 2. But I also wanted to sort of expand it to non-horror stuff, because I wanted to let people who didn't want to make a horror movie have some sort of like project like that they could work on, and that's where Nebraska Noir came from. Mainly just selfishly, I love film noir, and there's a lot of people that seem to be interested in making one, so I was like, well, let's do this. And we had a bunch of great local writers and stuff submit scripts, and we got Kiss a Fella by Dorothy Borum and Chad Hofschild. Now, you had were you on set for this, Josh, or you had something you wanted to mention about Kiss a Fella?
No, I was there the Friday before they shot, setting up.
Okay.
So I was on set to do all the pre-work before they shot on Saturday, but I followed along like crazy, and I wish I could have been there. But from just the pictures, it looks super rad. So,
oh, for sure. Yeah. And that's the cool thing about film noir is, like, the shots always look amazing. Like, everything looks cool. You get the right lighting and the chiaroscuro lighting and stuff. You get some of that smoke and that fog going. It makes anything look super, super rad.
Yeah.
Then Benito is going to be premiering another world premiere. So he's got 2 world premiere movies for this. Skeleton Dance, which I believe was adapted by Lisa Cavanda based on a different story. I think she adapted it into a screenplay format. So that's going to world premiere. Ryan Olsen's got his film Say Goodbye Grace, which currently has a Kickstarter campaign going. I'm not sure if it's over yet or not, but he's been doing a Kickstarter for that. And then Daniel Groskowiak has Backwash, which is another world premiere. So we got 4 world premiere films noir taking place Saturday night, and these are like sort of like you gotta come to the festival to watch these. I mean, they just the shots I've seen of these filmmakers posting on Facebook and stuff looks incredible. Looks so awesome.
Yeah.
Looks totally rad. And then we're going to, of course, have a Q&A with all of them. So Benito, Dorothy, Chad, Daniel, and Ryan, they're all going to be participating in a Q&A session about the creation of these films and whatnot, which is going to be fascinating to listen to as well, because I don't know how many of them sort of have experience making these kind of movies. So it'll be sort of interesting to see like where their inspiration came from and what films that they love, that they sort of drew from to make all these. And then I believe... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, that's one thing I was going to touch on really quick was one of the reasons I am excited about this, because at least I don't know Ryan and I don't know Daniel, but I know 2 of the 4 filmmakers, and Dorothy and Ben generally live in the horror genre, so it's cool to see them kind of jump out of that and do. I don't have the confidence in myself to jump and do a noir. I can't do it.
Oh, you could do it. You could do it.
Those guys kind of jump into a different genre, and so it's cool to see them try something different.
Yeah, and it's, for those who don't know, Benito runs Wetworks SFX Studios up in Omaha, which provides a lot of special effects work to the various horror filmmakers in Nebraska. So he's sort of known as like a horror guy. However, what's sort of interesting about him is that the films that he's made are not horror at all.
No.
Yeah, so like none of them have been horror, and like the 2 films that he's premiering on Saturday, Walk a Mile and Skeleton Dance, those are not horror either. So it's really, he's a super talented guy that has all sorts of different interests and stuff like that. So, and that's one of the cool things about a project like this. I'm glad you touched on it. Is like, I think people can sometimes, like, especially in the local film scene, can sort of think like, oh, well, this person only does a certain type of thing. And it can almost be a little bit easy to sort of like blow off whatever they're doing, because you just assume, oh, well, they're just making another horror movie. Maybe I'm not interested in horror movies, so I have no interest in watching it. But by showcasing these sort of anthology projects and stuff, you get people outside of their comfort zone, and people are going to come and they're going to see, like, you know, Dorothy's Kiss Fella and Benito's Skeleton Dance and Say Goodbye Grace and Backwash, and they're going to be like, wow, okay, these people are doing stuff has nothing to do with sort of like my impression of what they did is.
Yeah.
And I think that really sort of like helps the local community as well, realizing that lots of filmmakers have varied interests. It's not all just we only make horror films or we only make this type of film or that type of film. It's like, hey, we have all sorts of interests in work. And it's also a testament that the filmmakers around here are not afraid to try something new, which is super, super rad and awesome. It's like, you know, like you mentioned, like Dorothy maybe stays in the horror genre and whatnot, but it's awesome that she's like, hey, yeah, I'm going to try this. Let's do it. Let's see how it goes. And I like it when people get outside their comfort zone. So Josh, I'm going to eventually convince you to do something outside of your comfort zone. It's going to happen.
I co-directed a script that was not written by me. That's out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, see, small baby steps. Baby steps.
Yeah.
And then, so after the Q&A at 10 o'clock, we have a really cool thing, 10:30. So the festival's getting over a little early on Saturday, but that's because Bonsai, Brent Lindner, the owner of Bonsai and Sin City Grill and whatnot, he has decided that he wants to put on a Bonsai blowout after party. And what he's going to do, he's springing for like a rock band to show up, and basically everybody with a weekend pass. There's no cover charge. You can just go to Bonsai afterwards. sport, enjoy music. If you have a weekend pass, you get 25% off your entire ticket order at Bonsai and Sin City Grill for the entire weekend. And one thing I would mention, I've had a few people say, well, maybe I only want to show up for Saturday. Do I need to buy a $10 weekend pass? And I would highly encourage people to, even though you might only show up for one day of the festival, to spend that extra $5 for the $10 pass, because with that extra $5, you're going to get, even if you only show up for one day, you're going to get a free DVD sampler. It's got like 8 short films on it from local filmmakers. You get free popcorn, free soda. You get 25% off at Bonsai and Sin City Grill for the entire time you're there. What else am I missing? And you get free access to the Bonsai after party on Saturday night. Basically, you get all sorts of shit that totally makes up for that extra $5. So I would highly encourage everybody to do that. Get that weekend pass, and because it's definitely worth it. We're gonna make up for whatever the extra $5 you will spend, because the day pass is $5 and you don't get any of that stuff. So for sure, just get that weekend pass right now. You can order it right now. PrairieLightsFilmFest.com. Go there right now. We've already gotten a ton of pre-orders, I've been told. So go get your pass right now. And then, so after the Bonsai Blowout after party, Sunday we got a bunch of really cool films. Once again, we're going to have a Sin City breakfast mixer on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. So, show up there after the hangover you will no doubtly have after the Bonsai Blowout Saturday night, and all the fun stuff that's going to happen at the hotels and Tommy's restaurant afterwards. Head over to Sin City, grab yourself some breakfast, then at 10 o'clock, go over and watch Sam Roca's Mailbow Postal Delivery, which is this really hilarious, action comedy spoof short film. Then we have a bunch of really awesome documentaries. We have Handle with Care by Colleen Kenny. It actually is about Harold Chenoweth, who is Nebraska's first film producer. We have Taking Lena Home by Alexandra Grant. This is actually a story about how she found a tombstone that was originally supposed to be in Nebraska, but someone, I guess, had stolen this tombstone, and it was in Wyoming somewhere, for sale, and she got it, and then she traveled to Nebraska to sort of bring it back to the cemetery where it, should have been in the first place. Really interesting documentary. Then I Dream of an Omaha Where by Malay Mason, and this is a really interesting documentary about African-American gang culture in Omaha and how to sort of improve Omaha in the sense of cutting down the crime and giving more opportunities to people who are trying to avoid that lifestyle and stuff. Really interesting. And then we're going to sort of end the festival with a really cool film. It's called A Cold Day in Hell, and this is a feature-length sort of sci-fi action drama thing, and this is actually by Nicholas Robeson, who is a Grand Island filmmaker, and this is sort of like a post-apocalyptic sci-fi feature-length film, which is really cool. And we'll have a Q&A with him afterwards as well. So that's the Prairie Lights Film Festival, a 4th year of the Prairie Lights Film Festival. Like I said, I think we have 38 films, 16 world premieres. We're going to have about 20 filmmakers participating in the various Q&As over the course of the 3 days. We have a lot of cool stuff coming up. What are your overall thoughts on this year? I mean, I sent you the script or the schedule, I think today or last night. What were some of your initial impressions?
Night. It's a super packed weekend, and I'm excited to see everything. I mean, I've already talked about what I'm really looking forward to, but every year I look forward to the whole fucking festival. It's so fun, and it's again worth that $10 pass to go out and get it, and it's just a really super great weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I'm super stoked about this year as well. I think we got a lot of great stuff, and it's going to be a fun time. So once again, before we wrap up, this is sort of a short and sweet episode of the Prairie Lights podcast. We'll be back again this coming week with Benito, and we'll sort of be interviewing him about Walk a Mile and Skeleton Dance and talking to him about that stuff. Don't forget, please go to PrairieLightsFilmFest.com. Get your weekend passes right now. One reason why we love you to pick up your weekend pass now is it helps us sort of figure out how many DVDs we need to print up for the free sampler discs that we're going to give away to everybody. I would hate to print up a certain amount and then we get a rush like the day of on that Friday and there's no more left. So please, if you're listening to this and you're planning on showing up, just take like 10 seconds out of your day, go to PayPal, whatever it is, and order that weekend pass now. Your name will go on the list, and I will know to make sure that we'll have enough printed up for you guys. And also, if you're listening to this, we do have a public Facebook event group for Prairie Lights Film Festival. So go, you can find it in the show notes here on Prairie Lights Film Fest. I'll post it on there. It's also, just type in Prairie Lights Film Fest or go to the Facebook page or anything. It's all there. Please invite your friends, throw people in there and spread the word about this, because one thing about it is we have so many films at the film festival this year, close to 40 films. We want lots of people to be able to see all these films. So if you have, we want people to show up for the morning screenings, just like we want people to show up for the later screenings to all help support all of the filmmakers. I was sort of mentioning to a buddy of mine the other day, where I was like, it kind of sucks that I can't sort of stick every film in between like the hours of 6 and 9 o'clock. That's one sort of limitation with the film festival is like, some films have to be scheduled earlier in the day and others, on Sundays or whatever. I know that not all the times are absolutely ideal, but we want to at least get as many people to sort of be excited and come out to these as possible, because honestly, every film that's screening is worth viewing. It's Nebraska. We don't have all that many cool happening things going on in the state of Nebraska. This is one that I think is pretty cool, and there's no Nebraska football game that weekend, so you guys have no excuses.
Zero. So, yeah, I looked that up myself.
Yep. And we will be having an announcement very soon on the 5th annual Prairie Lights dates, and I believe that's going to be like the 17th, whatever weekend. There is the bye weekend of Nebraska in 2017 as well. So we've already looked at those dates, and we're probably going to jump on those sooner rather than later. Josh, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
I think we pretty much touched on everything, so I'm good.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thanks again for joining me today. Everybody, once again, PrairieLightsFilmFest.com. Order your weekend passes. Go to the website. You can click on each individual link for all of these films. It'll take you to a specific web blog post with details about the films and, all of that good stuff. Everything's on the website. You can definitely find all the information you need, including where to get hotel rooms and stuff in Grand Island if you're unfamiliar with Grand Island in that area. So with that being said, congratulations to all the filmmakers who have their films screening and playing, and happy 4th of July to everybody out there. Josh, don't blow up your hand or anything like that.
I need both those.
Yeah, and we will be back next week with Benito Garcia. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.